right, welcome back to my cramped facility. And today I'm going to be talking about my collection of, part of my collection of old plastic model airplane magazines, which truly are relics of the past. Yeah, okay. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, welcome aboard. All right, let's take a look at what we have here. This is a stack of all the copies of the amazing and wonderful 1001 new model airplane ideas, which appeared. This magazine supposedly came out in 1967. It says 67 inside of it, but I have a feeling it may have been around maybe 68. I have that feeling. One thing about this magazine was that it was truly aimed directly at the market that would also probably buy comic books, but it took itself quite a bit more seriously than that. And they had some pretty good ads. They had an amazing full page ad here for the AMT boxing of the Frog P-38. There it is. And I can still recite this stuff from memory. I mean, this is the Frog P-38 kit right there. And this is the AMT box top for it. And one thing you got to get used to with the old magazines is the lingo, you know, the way they write things. In one of the really groovy things about these old model kit magazines was that the guys who wrote the ad copy were probably like 40, and they're trying to figure out how to sound like they're 18. So greetings, fellow kids, and one of the most fabulous airplanes of World War II, exclamation point, now fabulous 1/72nd scale kit, exclamation point. The P-38 had a look and sound all her own. Yeah. Well, we're not going to read the rest of that right now. What we're going to talk about is what is this thing? And why are there so many of them? And to begin with, I can tell you that this was one of the very first model plane magazines I ever bought. And it permanently increased my mental capacity. And it also caused me to think that German airplanes were painted this color in World War II. This whole photograph is shifted to the blue end of the spectrum. So this bluish looking DO-17, I thought that was what German airplanes look like. And I still think that. There's a part of me that still thinks that they're kind of a blue-black color. Blue-green. Blue-black-green color. Yeah, that's what they are. And here you can see it here in living color. Who are you going to believe, me or your own lying eyes? So if you want to know what these planes actually look like, look them up on Google. But if you want to know what I think they look like, you got to look at this copy of the summer 1969 1001 new model airplane ideas. Now, you know that this was a publisher that just came out with 1001 new deck building ideas, 1001 new carburetor cleaning ideas. I mean, they had magazines for everything. It was always 1001 new ideas. So they just jumped on the bandwagon with model airplanes, and it apparently paid off for a while anyway. This was an issue that I don't believe that these magazines were intended to be subscribed to, that they would come out, monthly. Magazines had been in trouble since the 50s, and this was in the 60s, and they were not doing that well. But they would bring out an occasional single copy magazine, which is what this was. So we have this single copy, which consists of a bunch of photographs, which is kind of an easy way to make a magazine, but it's not by any means useless. Considering what it was at the time, it contains a lot of good information, especially if you're living in some place like Grants Pass, Oregon, where it's now illegal to sleep on the on the grass. Dedicated, it says here. If you're living in Grants Pass, Oregon, you are going to need this magazine in 1969 in order to figure out what's going on. And here's our dedication, which I'm kind of tempted to read, but I read it during rehearsal, and I got to tell you, there's no way. So we're just going to go through here page by page. You see some cool ads for the new Revell kits. That Spitfire looks pretty good. Yeah. And go over here, and we've got contents. We've got aircraft, World War I aircraft, World War II fighters, World War II bombers, jet aircraft, clubs to join. They're always pushing the IPMS. I'm not a fan. Sorry. I don't join things. Well, I joined one thing. Yeah, look at how that turned out. Anyway. Clubs to join and California Customs. This was weird. Okay, I'll explain that. California was the center of the United States aviation industry in those days. It was the center. According to my resources here, let's go over here and check it out. According to this wonderful article, Blue Skies on the West Coast, comes from the Space Review. It talks about the aerospace industry in Southern California. It says 15 of the 25 major aerospace companies, airplane makers in the United States, 15 out of 25 were in Southern California. That's a lot. We're talking Doug, Convair. We're talking Lockheed, North American Aviation. They're all in Southern California, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Huge amount of aviation related stuff going on in Southern California. And this kind of led to some interest in plastic model kits, because one of the biggest American model kit makers was in Southern California also. Yeah. Revell. And that, by the way, is how it's pronounced. Don't let me catch you pronouncing it some other way, because then I'll know you're like, Canadian or something. Just watch it. Watch it. Okay. Revell. Repeat after me. Revell. They were from Venice, California, and apparently these magazines that came out at that time also came out of California. The East Coast was kind of, it's kind of East Coast. I mean, have you watched any gangster movies lately, like the Mafia and stuff? That's the East Coast. That's the East Coast. The West Coast, we had model kits. Okay? All right. This thing came out of that whole bubbling, turbulent, passionate West Coast aviation thing. Okay? I mean, I was at Edwards Air Force Base, and I can tell you, it is what it is. Anyway, a lot of wild new aircraft were coming out, totally, you know, mind-boggling ideas. And these kit makers like Revell were trying their best to get these kits on the market, get them out there. I mean, the first time I saw a Revell kit of the mysterious YF-12, I mean, what was that thing? Yeah, nobody knew. That was so cool. Oh my God, like to find that. I should put that on the screen right now, but I don't have it. Maybe I'll put it in later. Maybe I'll get it post-production. Yeah. Okay, let's get back here to these things, because one thing to keep in mind here is that the amount of information available was very limited. So a magazine that could give you information was good, even if the information turned out to be kind of, well, in some cases, kind of dumb. But that's okay. I mean, who doesn't want to know how to make one of those weird Renwall kits? You know the ones I'm talking about, with the paper you glue on? Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you use enough of that liquid cement to glue that paper on there, let's just say you might climb in the cockpit and try to take off, okay? That was some potent stuff. And here we are. Here's a photo of it. Slopping it on. Plastic cement. Those were the days. Anyway, I don't think it's really possible for me to convey just how shocking it was to see something like this in print. It was amazing. After this issue sold, and it did, they went on to make it a quality occasion. We got our friend here with the blue shifted photo of a is it Dornier or Dornier? Yeah, you tell me. The whole country, that whole country over there, they've got some, you know, explaining to do. Okay. Here we have, again, they've had a lot of success selling ads. And check this thing out. Check this thing out. How, do you see that very often? It's from AMT. A spaceship? I don't know. I don't know what this is. I'd have to look into it further. I think I've actually seen this kit, but I'm not sure. The Leif Erikson? Yeah, buddy. They're thinking. They're thinking. Oh my God. Here we go. Here we go. Here's the article that changed my life and scarred me for life, really. What does it say there? Museum quality models are possible for your collection if you fill those significant seams. Significant seams, my brother. Let's take a look at what they recommend. Now you're gonna get a kick out of this. I'm getting a kick out of it as I speak here. What is that? What is that? Come on now, let's get the close up here. What? Wood mill auto body solder? I don't know if this is some kind of inside joke or what. You're going to polish it with brass polish, and then somehow you're going to use white glue. What? Okay, now as a kid, I bought this hook, line, and sinker. I still remember what this stuff looks and smells like. Wood mill auto body solder. I still remember it. Oh my word. Let me tell you something. Here we are over here where they're showing you. They have no fear. They are showing you. Look at what it says here. Larger gaps between plastic kit panels must be filled with metal-based automobile body filler, of course. Try to keep filler over seam. Yeah, and allow to dry overnight. This type of body filler is less porous than most. Has less tendency to crack or show its edges through final paint. Okay, if that's your major concern, I guess it's a good choice. I don't know. I put this stuff on a model that I had and then waited for it to dry and expected it would be like, I don't know, putty. It dried into solid metal. This stuff isn't on the market anymore. This stuff is not on the market anymore, so you will not be able to prove or disprove, or I won't be able to prove it. Take my word for it, okay? You needed a belt sander with carbide cutting belt on it to cut that stuff. It was impossible to sand or file or anything else. Imagine putting metal on a plastic model kit, okay? This was a really stupid idea. The weird part was that for several years in the late 60s, while everybody was smoking hemp and taking acid, okay, maybe that was the explanation. For some time in the late 60s, this lunatic idea was showed up in a Revell catalog. How to do it? Yeah. The same stuff. The same auto body putty showed up in the Revell catalog. And then when you're done, get this. When you're done, you're supposed to polish the model with Brasso. This is my question. If anybody knows the answer to this, please put it in the comments. Who did this? Who did this? Who built models with auto metal? Not Bondo, friends. I'm not talking about Bondo. Metal auto body solder that you can't even buy anymore, but you could then. Who built models with that stuff? I'd like to know. I'd like to know if anybody was able to actually do it. Because you try sanding metal next to plastic and see what happens. Okay? You're going to turn that plastic to dust long before you get a finish on that metal. I know from experience. All right, here we are. Here we are with the special teen issue, and we can see that they're beginning to get a little desperate here. They're trying to, they're trying to figure out what to do, and I don't think they know exactly what to do. But what they decided here in this copy, in this issue, was they had readers send in photographs of their models. And honestly, I don't know if they asked them to or not. But they had readers, and they also had a lot of people in Southern California. They had some sort of network in Southern California. I suppose it was the IPMS Mafia. Anyway, Southern California, they had this thing going on. They got the teen issue going. And it was basically the same format. It's a bunch of photos, a bunch of black and white photos on pulp paper. And I'm telling you, the models were supposedly made by teenagers. Here's an article on the Airfix B29. No, it's not the best metal finish I ever saw, but other than that, it looks great. I think this is a Lee Scow model. I'm not sure, though. No, wrong, big liar. Lloyd Gross built this. Lloyd Gross. Sorry, Lloyd. All right. That was it. That was your chance at posterity, and I blew it for you. Sorry. This is always one of my favorites. It has the same nonsense. You might wonder, where did I get these magazines in such pristine condition? I found them at a St. Paul, Minnesota landmark. And those of you who want to look me up, to murder me. Yeah, I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, right? Yeah, right. So if there's any Chinese hitman out there that gets me mixed up with somebody else. Yeah. All right. I know people are very secretive about their privacy and everything. But anyway, I got this at a St. Paul, Minnesota landmark called the Midway Book Store. It's it's at the corner of Snelling and University, and that's a fun neighborhood. Go down there and check out those books. Anyway, in the basement, they used to have piles of these, piles of old magazines about model airplanes. And then one day I went in there, and they were gone. And I imagine that somebody just made them an offer for the whole bunch and said, I'll sell them on eBay one by one. That's what I imagine happened. I don't know, really. really. Anyway, because I you know, I haven't got the nerve to walk up to the guy and ask him. And if I did ask him, I'm sure he'd say, "Well, I don't know." You know, have you ever asked anybody? Have you ever asked anybody in a shop like that? I mean, this is a really funky old bookstore. You ever ask anybody in a store like that and had them go, "Oh yeah, I know all about that. Sit down and I'll get you a cup of tea." Ever? No. Okay, I had that experience elsewhere, but not there. All right. Here's the 1001 new model airplane ideas for winter of 1969. And it's got this super boss, Eddie Allen, the unfortunate Eddie Allen, who was, you know, killed in an early B-29 accident. Here's the airplane. Airfix box top art. It's gorgeous, and right now the name of the Airfix box top guy is escaping me. Oh well, I'm an American. Hey, hate me. Go ahead. Yeah, see if I care. So, I'll think of it in a minute. I like this copy in particular. It has this wonderful little article, this wonderful little Revell zero sin kit, and it just makes everything look so simple. However, truly strange fashion. I mean, really, it's mad. Can't quite figure that what's going on here. There's the auto body solder again. Look at that. And there's that old tester's glue. Gloob. I was trying to say glue tube. It's kind of like YouTube. There's the glue tube that we had before YouTube. We had to sniff this and hallucinate our own videos. Yeah. Who did I steal that joke from? I don't know. Anyway. Somebody famous. And it's an old joke too. Except for the weird idea of applying that auto body filler. And here it is. I mean, they're not pretending. They're actually doing it, you know. Auto body solder. Strange. Now, for all I know, it works great. I just don't know how to do it. I mean, that's it. Now, here's a guy that's playing on... He's spraying on glossy enamel as a primer. You got to give the guy credit for that. I mean... In perversity, that's right up there. And here we go. Now those matte and enamels would simply crackle up, and they wouldn't go over the flat. I'm sorry, they wouldn't go over the gloss very well. So this whole thing is completely insane. Okay, I mean, it's a how-to article, but it's just so cute. You know, and then you've got You've got some IPMS winners from 1969, and you know what? They're pretty damn good models. It does kind of get, you know, it raises my hackles. Look that one up. It raises my hackles to read somebody say, you know, that they couldn't build a decent model in 1969. They didn't know how. Yeah, your mama don't know how. All right. Some of these models are really just amazing. Some of them are a little bit, I don't know. Well, you know, I couldn't do that in 1969. It's pretty cool. There's a whole article here about Magic Masker, which was a terrible mask that looked like and also tasted like bubblegum. And it worked just about as well. And we've got the glue here, where they suggest in this article that you glue your canopies on using rubber cement. I can't think of a worse idea. I cannot think of a worse idea. This is the worst idea in history. Rubber cement for canopies. I don't know if you know how rubber cement works, but real rubber cement, which is difficult to get now because People sniff that as well as all of the other things you use in model building. They sniff rubber cement, so they put stuff in it. Anyway, they goof it all up. But if you can get some real industrial rubber cement and you tried to attach a canopy with that stuff, I think you'd be dead. The point is you got some really interesting articles about things like, say, decals right here. And, you know, giving you pretty basic information about it. Here's the thing. A lot of the how-to tips, a lot of the information that they gave you in this magazine were horrible ideas. But in this issue, fall of 1970, we had how to put a metal foil finish on a Hasegawa B47. It was reboxed by AMT, but it was metal foil finish. And I still have a very soft spot in my heart for metal foil finishes. Still like them a lot. And they don't involve airbrushing. I kind of lack the patience for it. I have to admit that. But look at that. I like shiny planes. I just do. Can't stand it. Can't help it. Here's the last copy of this magazine that I had. It's 1970. We're getting into 1970. Whole new decade. A whole new world. Better world? Yeah, I don't know. The 70s were a decade from hell for me, so hey, I don't know. If you weren't alive then, you didn't miss much. Anyway, let's go back over here and take a look at what was in this. This issue, which was the second to last one that I know about, had this great article on color and camouflage, and it had these great charts. Now I know you go to the IPMS Stockholm now and you find this information, but back then this was really gold. This was solid gold. You could look at these things, figure out the federal standard number, and then if you wanted to, you could figure out what a British specification was, and then you could go over here and you could look at Pactra Flats. That was a cool name. Pactra really went after the scale modeler market with their flats. I think I even have one here somewhere. All right, let's get it over here where we can look at it better. Pactra scale model flats. Where on earth did I get this? This is old as the hills. Well, we've got a hobby shop here in town that still has a few bottles of this stuff sitting on the shelf. If you get to St. Paul, Minnesota, you got to go to Scale Model Supplies, okay? The Twin Cities. If you come here for whatever it is you're coming here for, go to over there. It's on Lexington and University. The bookstore is on Snelling University, and then just a little bit further down from there is Axeman. You go to University in St. Paul, you get to experience a lot of colorful local color, and you can go to these cool places. Anyway, here is what scale model flats look like way back in the day. Okay. Now, here is a magazine that told you what to do with it. There's the colors they had, and they had some colors that really were incredibly handy for all kinds of modeling. And then they told you what the federal standard number was, and then maybe even the name or the RAF equivalent. It was just, that's amazing. Amazing. And then there's foreign aircraft colors. This looks really prude and primitive, I was almost going to say. It looks pretty prude and primitive, but for that time, that was a big deal. 1970. 14 years old. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition. I could go on and on about these little magazines. I'm just so happy to actually own copies of them. Are they good for anything now? No, basically they're not. They're nostalgia pieces entirely. They're not really good for much else. The information contained in them is just nothing, basically nothing. Compared to the internet now, it's just not even close. But this was a big deal then. And it gives you an idea, if you're so inclined, it gives you an idea just how technology replaces, supplants, drives out old sources of information. So if you're interested in that, if you're into that sort of thing, say something in the comments and I will reply. All right, like, subscribe, share this video with everyone you know, people you don't know, total strangers. Share it. Click on some of the links that are going to be on the screen, and above all, keep on building models. What did you think I was going to say?